Title 42 is a public health order that was issued by the CDC in March 2020. It allowed the U.S. to expel migrants at the border without giving them a chance to ask for asylum. The reason was to prevent the spread of COVID-19 in crowded detention facilities. The policy was first implemented by President Trump and then continued by President Biden. It has been criticized by human rights groups and some Democrats as a violation of international law and a way to curb immigration. Since Title 42 began, more than 2.8 million migrants have been expelled under it. But not all migrants could be sent back to Mexico. Some were allowed into the U.S. under a different process called Title 8. They had to pursue their immigration claims in court, which could take a long time. Title 42 expired on May 11, 2023, when the COVID public health emergency ended in the U.S. At the same time, a new rule by President Biden went into effect. It could deny asylum to almost all illegal border crossers. The new rule says that anyone who has passed through another country without seeking refuge there first, or who has failed to access legal pathways to enter the U.S. cannot qualify for asylum. This means that most migrants from Central America and other regions will have a very hard time getting protection in the U.S. The end of Title 42 and the start of the new rule are expected to have a big impact on the border situation. Officials predict that more migrants will try to cross into the U.S. before the new rule makes it harder for them. But they also warn that smugglers are deceiving migrants and putting their lives at risk. The border communities are also on high alert for overcrowding and humanitarian challenges. The Biden administration announced new border enforcement actions to increase security and reduce unlawful crossings after Title 42 expired on May 11, 2023. Title 42 was a public health order that allowed the U.S. to expel most migrants encountered at the border due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The administration faced pressure from both sides of the political spectrum over the use of this authority, which was challenged in court by immigrant rights groups and supported by Republicans, who argued it was necessary to prevent the spread of the virus. The new measures included a rule that would bar most migrants who passed through another country from seeking asylum in the U.S. unless they had scheduled an appointment through a new online platform. The rule was intended to deter migrants from making the dangerous journey to the border and encourage them to seek protection in other countries along the way. Those who were found ineligible for asylum could be removed quickly through an expedited process that would ban them from re-entering the U.S. for 5 years. The administration also planned to return some migrants from countries like Cuba, Venezuela, Haiti, and Nicaragua to Mexico if they crossed the border unlawfully, marking the first time the U.S. had sent non-Mexican nationals back across the border. This policy was based on an agreement with Mexico that also involved increased cooperation on border security and humanitarian assistance. Additionally, the administration opened regional processing centers in key locations in the Western Hemisphere, where migrants could apply for refugee resettlement or other lawful pathways to the U.S., Canada, or Spain. The centers were staffed by federal personnel and international organizations and aimed to provide migrants with alternatives to reaching the southwest border. The administration hoped that these actions would help manage the border situation more humanely and effectively, but acknowledged that it would still face challenges in dealing with the high number of border arrests and processing backlogs. President Biden said that it would take time to rebuild a broken immigration system and called on Congress to pass comprehensive immigration reform legislation. President Biden's border strategy is facing legal and political challenges from both the right and the left over its handling of the migrant influx after the expiration of Title 42, a COVID-era order that allowed the swift expulsion of many migrants without due process. Title 42 was enacted by former President Trump in March 2020 and was extended by Biden until May 14, 2023, when it was lifted by a federal judge in Texas. The Biden administration argued that Title 42 was necessary to protect public health amid the pandemic, but critics said it violated U.S. and international laws on asylum and humanitarian protection. The end of Title 42 has led to a surge of migrants at the U.S.-Mexico border, especially from Central America, Cuba, Haiti, and Nicaragua, who are fleeing violence, poverty, and political repression in their home countries. According to U.S. Customs and Border Protection, CBP, more than 200,000 migrants were encountered at the border in October 2023, the highest monthly number since March 2000. To cope with the increased arrivals, the Biden administration has implemented a new asylum regulation that gives border agents more discretion to deny asylum claims based on certain criteria, such as having a criminal record, being a national security threat, or having transited through a third country. The administration has also created new legal pathways for migrants from Cuba, Nicaragua, and Haiti to apply for humanitarian parole or refugee status from their countries of origin or from third countries. However, these measures have not satisfied either side of the political spectrum. On the right, Republicans and some Democrats have accused Biden of being soft on border security and creating a humanitarian crisis. They have called for more funding for border enforcement, more cooperation with Mexico and other countries to deter migration, and more deportations of migrants who do not qualify for asylum. Some Republican governors have deployed their own National Guard troops and state police to assist CBP at the border. On the left, immigration advocates and some Democrats have criticized Biden for continuing some of Trump's policies that they consider harsh and inhumane. They have challenged the new asylum regulation in court, claiming that it violates U.S. and international laws on asylum and humanitarian protection. They have also urged Biden to end the use of detention centers and tent camps for migrants, especially children and families, and to provide more legal assistance and social services for migrants who are released into the U.S. As Biden enters his second year in office, he faces a difficult balancing act between managing the border situation and fulfilling his campaign promises on immigration reform. He has pledged to create a pathway to citizenship for millions of undocumented immigrants living in the U.S., restore the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals (DACA) program that protects young immigrants from deportation, increase refugee admissions, and revamp the immigration system to make it more fair and humane. However, he has faced opposition from Republicans in Congress who have blocked his legislative proposals, and from federal courts that have issued injunctions against some of his executive actions. Biden's border strategy is likely to remain a contentious issue in the upcoming midterm elections in November 2023, where both parties will try to mobilize their base voters and appeal to moderates and independents. The outcome of the elections will have a significant impact on the future of immigration policy in the U.S.